Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel, Forever in Memory. In this video, we'll be honoring American celebrities who have passed away today and in recent days, along with other notable figures from around the world. Before we begin, please show your support by giving this video a like. It really helps the channel. Thank you. And let's get started.
October 4th marked the passing of Arthur Jones, a man whose name might not always have been in the spotlight, yet whose impact rippled quietly through the fields he touched. He was more than a professional title or a line in a history book. He was a visionary thinker, a builder of ideas, and a relentless pursuer of the belief that one person's determination could shape the course of many lives. Arthur's legacy was defined not by sudden bursts of glory, but by a lifetime of persistence. In an era that often rewards the loudest voices, he stood apart, deliberate, thoughtful, and unwavering in his pursuit of excellence. Whether mentoring those who sought his wisdom, challenging the status quo with bold new approaches, or dedicating himself to causes larger than himself, Arthur was always driven by one guiding principle: progress must have purpose. His story began far from recognition. Born into an ordinary family, he learned early the value of effort and integrity. These lessons would carry him through a lifetime of challenges, setbacks that might have broken a lesser spirit. There were moments of doubt, moments when the future seemed uncertain, yet he met each obstacle with the same quiet strength that would come to define him, transforming adversity into opportunity and failure into fuel. Those who knew him speak not just of his achievements, but of his humanity, his warmth, his curiosity, and his ability to listen deeply. He was the rare kind of person who left people better than he found them, whose conversations lingered long after they ended, whose advice guided decisions for years to come. He believed in the power of knowledge, but even more so in the power of kindness. Today, as the world bids farewell to Arthur Jones, it is not titles or accolades that echo most loudly, but the lives he touched, the colleagues he inspired, the students he mentored, the countless individuals who found hope and direction in his example. His passing is a reminder that influence is not always measured in monuments or headlines. Sometimes it is measured in the steady, enduring light one life casts on the path of others. And so, as we remember Arthur, we honor not just what he accomplished, but who he was, a man of principle, of depth, of quiet strength. His journey has come to an end, but the imprint of his character remains, a lasting testament to a life lived with purpose, humility, and grace. October 3rd marked the passing of Jerry Leggio, a name that may not have echoed in every household, yet in the world of theater, film, and television, it resonated with a quiet, enduring strength. He was not merely an actor. He was a storyteller, a craftsman of emotion, a man who devoted his life to breathing life into words on a page and transforming them into something deeply human. Jerry's artistry was never about fame or glamour. He was part of that rare generation of performers for whom the stage was sacred ground, a place where truth could be revealed and humanity explored in all its beauty and complexity. Those who saw him perform remember more than just a character. They remember the depth of feeling he brought to every role, the subtlety of his gestures, the quiet authority of his presence. His talent was not loud or showy. It was the kind that lingered, that stayed with you long after the curtain fell. Born and raised with a love of storytelling, Jerry's early life was shaped by curiosity and a restless desire to understand people. Acting for him was never about pretending. It was about discovering. In rehearsal rooms and under the hot glow of stage lights, he sought the soul beneath the script. Whether he was playing a troubled father, a ruthless businessman, or a man haunted by his past, Jerry found truth in the details and humanity in the silences. But behind the performances was a man defined by humility and generosity. He mentored young actors, offering wisdom not just about the craft, but about the patience, discipline, and resilience it demanded. He was known for his kindness, his wit, and his unwavering belief that art could change lives. He believed that every performance, no matter how small the audience, carried the power to move hearts and spark reflection. Jerry's journey was not without challenges. There were years when roles were scarce, when recognition seemed out of reach, yet he never wavered in his commitment. Acting was not a career for him, it was a calling, a necessity, the language through which he made sense of the world. And through decades of dedication, he built a legacy that will outlast applause and accolades. Today, as we bid farewell, we remember not just the man on the stage or screen, but the soul behind the performances. Jerry Leggio's name may fade from the headlines, but his work, the lives he touched, the stories he told, the truths he revealed, will continue to live in the hearts of those who witnessed them. And in the silence after the final bow, in the dimming light of an empty theater, his spirit lingers still, a reminder that art, when born from honesty and passion, never truly dies. October 4th marked the passing of Anton Pelinka, a thinker whose voice shaped political debate, challenged complacency, and illuminated the complexities of democracy for generations. He was more than just a political scientist or professor. He was a bridge between ideas and action, between theory and the turbulent reality of the modern world. With his passing at the age of 82, Europe loses one of its most respected intellectuals, a man whose sharp mind and unwavering belief in democratic values left an indelible mark on public life. Pelinka's name became synonymous with clarity and courage. In an era when public discourse often dissolved into noise, he brought reason and depth. His analyses of power, populism, nationalism, and European integration were not confined to academic halls. They resonated in newspapers, on television, and in parliamentary debates. He believed that scholarship had a duty beyond bookshelves. It had to speak to society, to question authority, and to defend freedom. And that is exactly what he did. Born in Vienna, Pelinka grew up in a post-war Europe, grappling with its past and searching for its future. Those formative years shaped his worldview. Democracy was not to be taken for granted, and understanding it required constant vigilance. His intellectual curiosity led him into political science, where he built a career that would span decades and continents. From classrooms to conferences, from books to broadcasts, he cultivated a reputation for intellectual honesty and fearless critique. Yet Palenka was more than a commentator. He was a teacher in the truest sense, not only imparting knowledge, but inspiring countless students to question, to engage, to participate. He challenged them to see politics not as distant theater, but as a living, breathing force that shaped their daily lives. Many of his former students went on to become policymakers, journalists, and academics themselves, carrying forward the lessons he instilled. Today, as we reflect on his life, we do not only mourn an intellectual, we mourn a conscience, a voice that spoke when silence was easier, a mind that illuminated complexity in an age of simplification. And perhaps the greatest tribute we can pay Anton Palenka is to keep asking the questions he never stopped asking. What kind of society do we want to build? What must we do to protect the freedoms we cherish? In those questions lives his legacy, sharp, challenging, and profoundly human. October 3rd marked the passing of Marcel Usson, a man whose life was woven into the very fabric of French football, whose name might not always have dominated the front pages, yet whose influence could be felt every time a team took the field with courage, discipline, and heart. At the age of 87, the legendary coach left this world, but not before carving out a legacy defined by resilience, vision, and an unwavering belief in the transformative power of the game. Usson's story was never one of overnight fame. It was the tale of a man who built his career step by step, brick by brick, with the patience of a craftsman and the conviction of a believer. Born in Metz, in the shadow of the post-war years, he grew up with football not as a spectacle, but as a way of life, a language that united neighborhoods, healed divisions, and offered dreams to those who had little else. The young Marcel did not just play the game, he studied it, breathed it, lived it. And as the years passed, his destiny became clear. He was meant to lead. His rise as a manager was marked by persistence rather than glamour. He took on teams that others might have dismissed, and through sheer determination, he transformed them into contenders. The most defining chapter of his career came at FC Metz, where his tactical intelligence and ability to nurture young talent turned the club into a respected force in French football. Under his guidance, Metz achieved victories that many had once thought impossible, including their unforgettable Coupe de France triumph, a victory not just for the team, but for an entire city that believed in the impossible. But Usson's influence extended far beyond the touchline. To his players, he was more than a coach. He was a mentor, a father figure, a man who demanded the best but always gave more in return. He was known for his fiery team talks, his meticulous preparation, and his refusal to accept mediocrity. Yet beneath the hard exterior was a deep compassion. He cared about the men behind the jerseys, about their growth not just as athletes, but as people. Today, as fans, former players, and colleagues reflect on his passing, they remember not just the victories, but the values he embodied: loyalty, perseverance, and an unshakable faith in the power of teamwork. Football was never just a job for Marcel Husson. It was his life's calling, his canvas, his way of leaving the world a little better than he found it. And so, as the stadium lights dim and the echoes of the final whistle fade, we remember a man who devoted his life to the beautiful game. The tactics may evolve, the players may change, but the spirit he championed, the belief that football is ultimately about heart, will live on. Marcel Husson's final match has been played, but his influence will remain, etched into the soul of every team he shaped and every dream he helped make possible. October 4 marked the passing of Remo Girone, a name that may have first reached audiences through the glow of cinema screens, whose legacy stretches far beyond the credits of any film. At the age of 86, the celebrated Italian actor departed this world, leaving behind not just a body of work, but a lifetime of storytelling. Stories that spoke to the complexities of the human soul. Stories that captured love and betrayal, strength and vulnerability, ambition and regret. To speak of Girone is to speak of an actor who understood that cinema was not simply entertainment. For him, acting was a mirror, one that reflected the deepest truths about who we are and who we might become. With his distinctive voice, his expressive gaze, and a presence that seemed to command the screen even in silence, Girone built a career that touched audiences from Rome to Hollywood. But behind the applause and the accolades was a man driven not by fame, but by the need to tell stories that mattered. Born in Asmara, then part of Italian East Africa, Girone's early years were shaped by displacement, identity, and the search for belonging, themes that would later echo throughout his work. When his family moved back to Italy, he immersed himself in the world of theater, finding in the stage a refuge, a challenge, and a calling. Acting was not an easy path, and there were times when doors slammed shut, when roles slipped away, when the future seemed uncertain. But Girone possessed a quiet determination. He believed that art was worth the struggle, that every audition, every rejection, every small role was a step towards something greater. His breakthrough came with performances that married subtlety with power. Critics and audiences alike were drawn to the way he inhabited his characters, not as performances, but as living, breathing people. Whether portraying conflicted men wrestling with their conscience, or powerful figures hiding vulnerability beneath layers of authority, Girone brought depth and humanity to every role. His portrayal of Tano Caridi in the acclaimed television series La Piovra became iconic, a chilling yet complex performance that cemented his place among Italy's finest actors. But cinema was never just about fame for Girone. It was about connection. Colleagues spoke of his generosity on set, his commitment to craft, and his insistence on truth over spectacle. Younger actors often sought his guidance, and he gave it freely, reminding them that the real measure of success was not red carpets or awards, but the ability to move someone's heart. And so, as we bid farewell, we imagine the empty stage where he once stood, the spotlight fading, but the echo of his presence still strong. His final scene has been played, but the emotion he stirred lives on, in the films we revisit, in the hearts he touched, and in the timeless truth that great stories never truly end. Remo Girone is gone, but his spirit will continue to speak, softly, powerfully, and eternally, every time the lights dim and the screen begins to glow. October 4 marked the passing of Nina Guliayeva, a name that, for generations of theater-goers and cinema lovers, symbolized grace, resilience, and the timeless art of storytelling. At the age of 87, the beloved Russian actress left this world, leaving behind a legacy that transcends the stage and the screen. Hers was not merely a career, it was a lifetime devoted to emotion, truth, and the delicate craft of embodying the human spirit. Nina Guliayeva was not the kind of artist who chased fame or headlines. Her power was quieter, deeper, the kind that reveals itself not in grand gestures, but in the subtle flicker of an expression, the pause between words, the weight of silence. Audiences did not simply watch her perform, they felt her presence. Every role she played, from tragic heroines to gentle mothers, from fierce revolutionaries to fragile dreamers, carried a depth that lingered long after the curtain fell. Born in Moscow, in the shadow of a turbulent century, Guliayeva's childhood was shaped by hardship and hope. From an early age, she found solace in stories, reciting poems in dimly lit classrooms, losing herself in books, and imitating characters she admired. The stage called to her not as a path to glory, but as a refuge, a place where she could transform pain into beauty and uncertainty into meaning. That calling led her to the prestigious Shuchkin Theater School, where she honed her craft and learned that acting was not about pretending, it was about becoming. Her journey was anything but easy. In a time when opportunities for women in the performing arts were limited and often constrained by politics and ideology, Guliayeva faced countless rejections. Casting directors told her she was too serious. Critics said her style was too introspective. But she never changed to fit the mold. Instead, she let the truth of her art speak for itself, and slowly the world began to listen. It was on the stage of the Vakhtangtov Theater where Gulyayeva's talent truly blossomed. There she delivered performances that critics hailed as transformative, disappearing into her characters so completely that audiences forgot the actress and saw only the soul of the story. Cinema, too, opened its doors to her, and she brought the same emotional precision to the screen. Whether in sweeping historical dramas or intimate family stories, Gulyayeva's work was always grounded in authenticity. There were moments of doubt, too. Moments when the roles stopped coming, when younger stars filled the spotlight, and when she wondered if her time had passed. But even in those silent years, she remained a guiding force, mentoring young actors, sharing the wisdom of a life spent chasing emotional truth, and reminding them that acting is not about applause, it is about connection. As Jared Leto entered the later chapters of his extraordinary journey, something deeper began to define his life. Something beyond awards, fame, or the dizzying lights of global stages. It was a quiet but powerful shift from ambition to purpose, from chasing dreams to shaping a legacy that would outlive the man himself. The boy who once wandered through small-town America with nothing but a belief in art had now become a global icon. Yet he carried that same restless spirit, still searching, still questioning, still refusing to settle. His career in film reached new heights as he continued to defy expectations and blur the line between actor and character. Roles in blockbusters like Blade Runner 2049 and Suicide Squad brought his intensity to mass audiences. But even in mainstream cinema, Jared never lost his instinct for risk. His portrayal of the Joker was polarizing and provocative, exactly as he intended. He once said that art should disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed. And in every performance, he remained loyal to that philosophy. But perhaps Jared's most profound impact was no longer confined to the screen or the stage. He became an influential voice in culture, an advocate for individuality, a champion of self-expression, and a living example of how reinvention is not only possible, but necessary. He spoke openly about mental health, the pressures of fame, and the importance of authenticity in a world obsessed with perfection. His life was proof that success was not about fitting in, but about standing unapologetically apart. On stage with 30 Seconds to Mars, the band evolved into something more than a musical act. It became a movement. Their concerts were communal rituals where tens of thousands of people screamed, cried, and sang as one. Jared would often pause mid-performance, gazing into the crowd with visible emotion, and remind them, "You are not alone." For many, those words meant everything. His music was no longer just about melodies, it was about connection, healing, and the shared human experience. Away from the spotlight, Jared's curiosity continued to lead him down unexpected paths. He traveled the world with a filmmaker's eye and a philosopher's heart, capturing stories and landscapes that most people never see. He invested in projects that blended technology with art, explored virtual storytelling, and even climbed some of the world's highest peaks, always seeking new ways to challenge himself and redefine what was possible. Yet for all his achievements, Jared remained grounded in the belief that life's true meaning was found in small, fleeting moments. A sunrise seen after a sleepless night on tour. A conversation with a fan who found hope in one of his songs. A handwritten lyric tucked into a notebook that no one else would ever read. These moments, he believed, were what made a life extraordinary, not the applause or headlines. In the end, Jared Leto's legacy was not about one career or one art form. It was about transformation, the courage to evolve, the audacity to dream, and the relentless pursuit of authenticity in a world that often rewards conformity. His story reminded us that creativity is not a destination, but a journey, and that reinvention is not a sign of instability, but of strength. And so, as the curtain slowly draws on his remarkable life and career, The echoes of his work continue to ripple through generations. His films still provoke. His music still inspire. His words still offer comfort to those who feel lost. Jared Leto was never just an actor or a musician. He was a storyteller of the human condition, a restless soul who turned his life into art and invited the world to join him in the process. Long after the lights dim and the final note fades, the spirit he embodied, fearless, curious, and defiantly human, will remain. And somewhere in the silence that follows the applause, his voice will still whisper to anyone willing to listen, "Don't be afraid to become who you are."
December 26, 1971, a date that would mark the beginning of one of the most enigmatic and multifaceted journeys in modern entertainment. On that winter day, in the small city of Bossier City, Louisiana, a boy named Jared Joseph Leto entered the world. No one could have predicted that this child, born into a family that struggled to make ends meet, would one day become an Oscar-winning actor, a visionary musician, and one of the most distinctive creative voices of his generation. Jared's early years were far from glamorous. Raised by a resilient single mother who believed deeply in the power of art and imagination, he and his brother Shannon grew up surrounded by creativity rather than material wealth. Their home was often filled with music, paintings, and stories, not luxuries, but dreams. These formative experiences shaped Jared's worldview. Art wasn't a career path. It was a way to understand and survive the world. As a teenager, he was restless and curious, drawn to everything from painting to filmmaking. But it was acting that first ignited his passion. He left behind the uncertainty of his small-town life and moved to New York City to pursue that dream, studying at the School of Visual Arts. Every rejection he faced in those early days only fueled his determination. Jared was not interested in fame. He wanted to become his characters, to tell stories that mattered. His breakthrough came with the 1990s television drama My So-Called Life, where his portrayal of the mysterious and magnetic Jordan Catalano made him a cultural icon almost overnight. Yet his work in cinema would define him. Leto immersed himself completely in every role, from the haunting portrayal of a heroin addict in Requiem for a Dream, to his chilling transformation into the transgender character Rayon in Dallas Buyers Club, a performance that earned him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. But Jared Leto was never satisfied by being confined to one art form. Parallel to his acting career, he co-founded the rock band 30 Seconds to Mars with his brother. What began as a small project soon evolved into a global phenomenon, with anthems that spoke to rebellion, hope, and the relentless pursuit of dreams. Their concerts became more than performances. They were communal experiences, uniting thousands under the banner of shared emotion. Jared's journey was not without turbulence. Critics often questioned his unconventional choices, both on and off the screen. Some saw his experimental approach as eccentric, even reckless. But he remained unwavering in his philosophy. True art is born from risk. He embraced controversy, explored extremes, and refused to be predictable.
This fearless pursuit of authenticity became his signature. Behind the fame, however, was a deeply introspective and often solitary man. Friends described him as someone who thrived in chaos, but craved silence. He was known to disappear into remote locations to write music or prepare for roles, pushing himself to physical and emotional extremes for the sake of his craft. It was this dedication, bordering on obsession, that separated him from so many of his contemporaries. Looking back, Jared Leto's life is more than a career. It is a testament to the power of reinvention. He showed the world that it is possible to be both a Hollywood star and a rock icon, a provocateur and a poet,